performance. Now, if you're an athlete and you want to maximize your results and improve your performance, this video is for you. But if you're an athlete and you're just happy with being average and mediocre, you may as well turn this off now because it's not going to be for you. So when it comes to nutrition, nutrition is complicated. It's always individualized. It's very much tailor-made to the athlete or to the individual. But I can give you some tips today and I can highlight some areas that you can definitely start addressing that will improve your performance right off the bat. So being an athlete, you want to always focus on performing optimally. And in order to perform optimally, you have to make sure that the fuel that you're taking in is going to give you positive results. Now, with anything, what you eat is directly responsible for how you behave. It's directly responsible for how your hormones respond. It's directly responsible for your energy levels, etc., etc. So you really want to take these things into consideration as an athlete because they will greatly affect your energy output. They'll greatly affect your cognitive function. They affect everything when it comes to being a better athlete. Now, if you want to be great at something, you really need to dial in on the small things. And a lot of the time, nutrition is the one element that athletes really don't take all that seriously. So it is something that you should be dialing in on, and hopefully these tips today are going to give you a hand with that. Some sports are governed by weight classes, like with my sport, for example, we're very much governed by weight classes. And there is this old school mentality within strength for sports today where eating up is better, bigger is better, and that is awesome. If you want to be in a bigger weight class, if you want to grow, if you want to be bigger, obviously the more weight you have, the more muscle you have, the more you're going to be able to lift. So I'm all for bigger, but there's a right way of doing things and a wrong way of doing things. Now, fat is not a productive tissue. So if you're going to eat up to a weight class, if you're eating up to get bigger, like I said, there's a right way and a wrong way of doing things. You want to eat up to grow your muscle because your muscle is what's going to aid you in your performance. Like I said, fat is an unproductive tissue. A little bit of fat to create some cushioning is going to improve or assist you with squat leverages and some cushioning on your bench press. But overall, it's not going to make you lift more. So like I said, there's a right way and there's a wrong way of doing things. And everything that I'm going to give you tips on today can definitely help you and guide you when it comes to gaining muscle if bigger is what you want to do. But remember, like I said, what you put in is what you get out. And if you are eating high sugar foods, trans fats, burgers, fries and that sort of shit to get bigger, that's not necessarily going to make you stronger because you're not fueling your muscle. So when it comes to improving your sports performance, there are many pathways to this. There is improving your skill, improving your efficiency, improving your proficiency, and more muscle. So the more muscle you have, or the leaner your muscle, or the more responsive your muscle is, the better you're going to be able to perform. So whether you're a powerlifter, a strongman, a runner, a swimmer, or a golfer, muscle, good, lean, strong muscle is going to help you with your performance. It's going to help your energy output, it's going to help your speed, it's going to help your explosive power, it's going to help all those things that make you a more efficient sportsman, and make you more skilled sportsman, and make you better at the sport that you perform. So we want to talk about how to fuel your muscle and how to fuel your recovery. Another essential part of an athlete's regime is their recovery. Another thing that a lot of people don't take seriously enough, and if you really dial in on your nutrition, you can actually aid in your recovery substantially. So when it comes to nutrition, one of the biggest things is obviously calories. Now we know that calories in versus calories out, and your calories decipher everything. They decipher whether the more calories you eat, you're obviously going to a surplus. The less calories you eat, you're going to a deficit if you're looking to drop weight. And if you just maintain your normal calories for what maintains your normal weight, you won't gain, you won't lose, you'll maintain. So, I mean, like I said earlier on in this, nutrition is complicated and it is very individualized and very much tailor-made to the individual. So, as an athlete, to perform optimally, you always want to be eating at a caloric surplus. Now, when I say surplus, I mean, if your maintenance calories are 2,000, 2,300, 2,400 is a good enough surplus to really fuel your recovery while not putting on too much additional weight. If you're talking over 1,000 calories, that is too much of a surplus. So you always want to be within a manageable surplus that doesn't affect your overall weight, but it does greatly and positively affect your training. So if we look at some of our most essential macronutrients, firstly, if you are competing in any sort of performance sport and you are eliminating a macro from your diet, you're really taking the wrong approach. Each macro has a very essential role in our training, our performance, and our recovery. And like I said, they do affect your hormones, and your hormones are going to affect your performance greatly. So let's look at protein for starters. So protein, on an average, you want to be eating about 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight in order to be getting sufficient protein in to fuel your general daily activities and to fuel your training, to really fuel your muscle. So 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight, and you want to make sure that you're including protein into every meal of the day. So if you look at your 3 main meals, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, throw in an extra 2 meals that is a pre-workout and a post-workout, which are the 2 most important things you want to be doing surrounding your training. You want to have protein in all those meals, and you want to look at high quality protein. So you want to look at lean meats, eggs, organic dairy, and then your whey proteins. Now, I'm not going to go into supplements too much today. That's a whole different video tutorial in itself, but whey isolate or whey protein should be an essential part of your diet. Otherwise, you're forced to eat too much lean meat and too many eggs and too much dairy to actually hit your protein needs for the day. Unless you are eating up, a good idea is to eat more real sources of protein, like I said, from lean meats, eggs or dairy. You never ever want to skint on your protein. So if you are taking a protein supplement like whey protein or a whey isolate, don't skint on this. There's a lot of fillers and a lot of bullshit out there. Make sure that you do your research and find a product that's really good for you, that your body's going to respond well to. Even little things like a lot of whey proteins can make one bloat, or those things. Again, you don't want to go into a session, you don't want to go for a run, you don't want to get in the water if you're feeling like that. So make sure you do your research on your whey protein that you use, because it really will affect you greatly. Your next priority are your carbs. Now, your carbs are the macros that are feeding your muscle pre and post. You definitely don't want to be eliminating carbs from your diet. Even if you are governed, your sport is governed by weight classes, and you need to be eating at a caloric deficit, you're still going to have carbs in your diet. At no point are you ever eliminating carbs from your diet. You may drop the quantity down, but you never want to eliminate them. So like I said, carbs are the next biggest priority when it comes to your eating. Now, remember, when a carbohydrate enters into your bloodstream, it breaks itself down into sugars, and those sugars is what feeds your muscle. When your blood sugar level rises, your insulin kicks in, which is the hormone that kickstarts your recovery. So post-workout, it's really important that you have carbs and pre-workout. So you get high glycemic carbohydrates and low glycemic carbohydrates. Low glycemic carbohydrates are the ones that release energy slowly into your system, and these are the kind of carbs you want to have before training. So within an hour of your training session, whether if you're going into the gym or you're performing in your actual sport, so you're a golfer and you're getting out onto the course, you want to have your pre-workout about an hour before, and your pre-workout must contain a protein, so something like a whey protein. It's a good opportunity for you to have your whey protein, and you want a low glycemic carbohydrate, because it slowly releases energy and it keeps you sustained throughout your training session or throughout the activity that you're performing on the day. So low glycemic carbohydrates are things like oats, banana, certain fruits. They're things you want to throw into your protein shake before you train. Post-training, again, you've got to hit the protein and carbs again, but these carbs now, you want high glycemic carbs, because they release sugar quickly into your bloodstream and just replenish those stores, those glycogen stores in your muscle that you might have lost. So fruit is great here. So things like papaya, watermelon, these things are high glycemic carbohydrates into a shake with your protein, and it's just a fast way to replenish your stores. The next macro that's really important is your fats. Now, your fats are an essential energy source on low demand days. So on a non-training days, when you can really increase your fat intake, things like nuts and avo and essential oils, not essential oils, fish oils. You want to be careful with fats, and it's really important that you read nutritional labels here, because you don't want to be eating trans fats. Those aren't good fats, and your body doesn't respond well to them, and when your body's not responding well to them, your energy output and your performance is going to be affected by things like trans fats. So if you're a competitive athlete and you're serious about your sport, you should be eliminating trans fats from your diet completely. So 2 main focuses when it comes to carbs and fats. What we like to advocate, what I like to advocate as a coach with my athletes, is we do something called macro cycling. So on days that you exercise, because your needs are a lot higher, we like to include a lot more carbohydrates in your diet. Firstly, it fuels your performance and it assists with your recovery. And we like to drop back on the fats, because you're really getting your energy source from the carbs. You don't need it from your fats. But on a non-training day, This is when you want to increase your fat intake because you're now going to get your energy from the fats, and you're going to decrease your carbohydrate intake. So quickly, in a nutshell, exercise days, high protein, high carbs, low fat. Non-exercise days, high protein, you always want a high protein diet, low carbs and high fats. That's the general consensus when it comes to macro cycling for athletes. Another essential nutrient that a lot of athletes, or a lot of people in general, don't take seriously enough is their water and fluids. Now remember, when you're highly active and you're training hard and you're training out in the heat, whether you're a golfer or you're a runner, a cyclist, you're out in the heat, you're sweating a lot, you're sweating out those electrolytes, you're sweating out your water. And remember, your muscle is 70% fluid, so you want to constantly replenish this, and you don't want to replenish this when you're thirsty. Thirst is already a sign of dehydration. You want to get used to having that bottle of water with you all the time, and you're constantly replenishing throughout the day. So a general rule of thumb is, I say personally, on a non-exercise day, you want to times your body weight by 30. So if you are 100 kgs, you want to be drinking at least 3 liters of water a day. And on an exercise day, a training day, you want to times your body weight by 40. So again, 100 kg male, you're going to be drinking at least 4 liters of water. I'd like to address supplements, but that's a tutorial for another day. The one supplement I'd like to address is pre-workout. Now, there are 90% of the pre-workouts on the market today are pretty useless and expensive. So you'll end up spending money on something that's ineffective or is not going to affect you positively. Now, if you're in a drug-tested sport, you've got to be really careful to read the labels of your pre-workouts, because a lot of the time there's substances in there that will be picked up in a drug test. So just be careful about what pre-workouts you use. Also, the thing with pre-workouts is it can actually affect your hormone levels. Pre-workouts are known to affect your melatonin, and this is your sleep hormone. And sleep is your best tool of recovery. So you don't want anything to alter your sleep, anything that's going to not put you into a deep sleep, especially if you're training or exercising later on in the day. It can greatly affect your sleep. Sleep is #1 priority when it comes to recovery. Recovery is something that we need to take serious consideration of as an athlete if we want to be able to perform well. So just be careful of pre-workouts. Look, I'm not anti-pre-workouts. I definitely feel if you're having a low day, a shitty day, you need an extra kick, go for it, have a pre-workout. But remember, the more often you have something, the more your body adapts to it. And you don't want your body adapting to it. You also don't want to become dependent on it. If you're using pre-workouts as a motivational tool, you're also not in the right headspace. As an athlete competing at a high level, or an athlete that wants to achieve great things at a high level, you definitely should be motivating yourself, and you shouldn't use something like a pre-workout to stimulate you. Okay, so just some simple actions for you to take as an athlete that you can already start dialing in on. Remember, you want to include protein into every meal. So whether it's a high quality protein being lean meats, organic dairy, or eggs, and then things like whey protein every single meal. 3 meals a day plus your pre-workouts and post-workout. 5 essential times for you to have protein. With your carbs and fats, remember you want to cycle these. So higher carbs on training days, lower carbs on non-training days, higher fats on non-training days, and lower fats on training days. Pre and post-workouts are essential. Pre-workout, you want high protein and low glycemic carbohydrates to release energy and sustain you throughout your training session. Post-workout, high glycemic carbohydrates with your protein to quickly shuffle that glycogen and restore the glycogen in your muscles. Water, fluids, stay hydrated. Something I do is I learned from my coach, which has been highly beneficial for me, is when I'm training, I actually add, if I've got a liter of water, I add a tablespoon of Himalayan salt to my water. These are nature's, this is Earth's electrolytes. If you think about it, when you have been sick, you go into the hospital, the first thing they do is they put you on a saline drip. What is that? It's salt water. So while you're training, you constantly want to restore your electrolytes. Himalayan salt is the best way, the most natural way, and the most healthiest way for you to replenish your stores. So remember, the biggest thing is just eliminate the bullshit. Sugars and trans fats are not, sugar has no positive benefits on your body, essentially. I mean, added sugars here and trans fats. So as an athlete, it's something you want to eliminate from your diet because it's not going to have positive outputs. Whatever you put in is whatever you get, is what you get out. Guys, if you found this video helpful, please click like so I know to do more videos like this, subscribe, and click the little bell next to the subscribe button, and you'll get a notification every time I upload. Awesome.